Hello, and welcome to this edition of ASEC Conversations. Today, our special guest is Commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference, Keith Gill. At this time, I'll turn it over to our host, Ashley Hammett. Ashley?
So you were named Commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference in December 2019 and were the first African American to lead an FBS conference. Did that add any pressure to an already pressure-packed position, or had you had your prior experience sufficiently prepare you for that?
I do think, I don't know if it added pressure, but I certainly feel a responsibility to just try to make sure that I represent, Black people and African Americans in a way that certainly doesn't prohibit their opportunities for positions like these and enhances it. So yeah, I feel like it's more of a responsibility rather than pressure. And I just think back to when I was coming up in the business and the folks that I looked up to and how helpful they were in allowing me to have this opportunity. And I want to make sure that I'm doing the same for others.
You have been either an athletic director or a senior associate athletic director since 2004 and have a 25-year career in collegiate athletics. Which of your previous positions do you believe helped most in your preparation to lead a conference?
I guess I would say the two things are, one, working at Oklahoma for Joe Castiglione. That's probably one of the most important things to happen to me in my career, just because of the things that I learned and just because of what a unbelievable person Joe is and, the University of Oklahoma was for my career. And then I think working at the NCAA, was absolutely critical because it gave me a sense of the governing structure. I really learned how to be a professional there. That was my first real job out of college. Folks that I met there that are my mentors, that were my mentors then, still mentor me today. And so that was impactful. And then the last piece, which might not be responsive to the question, but my undergraduate experience at Duke was certainly very, very critical for me in terms of how to think, how to write. The foundation that Duke gave me was pretty incredible. So I think those three pieces, if I had to pick, I would say were probably most beneficial, but certainly my entire kind of work experience is kind of contributed to my ability to be the commissioner of the Sun Belt.
Please tell us why you said at your first State of the Conference meeting that you believe that you have the perfect number of members and that they have you well positioned for success. What are the strengths of the Sun Belt Conference from your perspective?
Yeah, so the reason why I think we have the perfect number of members is we have 10 football playing schools, which is perfect for us. We don't have schools a lot of times that when they bring value to the league, they're bringing all this additional revenue. So generally, when you have too many schools, you're just dividing up the pot more. And so we don't have to do that. And so we're very good. We have really good football members in terms of, Appalachian State, which was ranked, 20th in the final CFP poll last year. Louisiana was getting votes. We had two teams in our football championship game, both had 10 or more wins. And so I think football is our most important asset in the Sun Belt Conference. It's what we really try to cultivate. It's our bread and butter. We've had the best bowl winning percentage in FBS. We had the most non-conference wins in our history. And so by any metric, we finished kind of better than we ever did, the number of Autonomy 5 wins. So we're really excited about our trajectory in the sport of football and where we're headed.
With COVID-19 and other economic issues, there are some who believe that between CUSA and the Sun Belt, there are 24 schools that could easily be split into 2 12-team conferences or 3 8-team conferences. What are your thoughts on this idea?
We really like where we are in the Sun Belt, and I'm sure the Conference USA likes where they are as well. And but we have a lot of strengths. Our football is really ascending. Where our members are and kind of how we engage each other as a conference is pretty good. We've got a great footprint. If it was a little tighter, would that be better? Yeah, but it's still not bad. So we like where we are. We like the number. We like our locations. We like the fact that we are, football matters and we're in the South. And so, we don't have any interest in having other schools. We really are we really like our membership and feel like it's perfect. And so I'm not really one that's supportive of that merger. I do think trying to play more regional games is something that might make some sense. And so if we can explore that and figure that out, that's great. But no, the Sun Belt, we feel we're really strong. we're really well positioned, and we certainly aren't looking for members.
The NCAA has extended all spring sports athletes' eligibility by 1 year and has increased the number of scholarships to account for the returning seniors. Do you agree with this decision?
Yeah, I think it was a great decision by the NCAA. I feel for the spring sports student athletes just because through no fault of their own, they had their season impacted. In no opportunity to play a full regular season, conference championship, NCAA championships. So I really like the fact that the NCAA has provided this opportunity to them, and institutions can invite those students back and give them the chance to try and have a complete senior season of intercollegiate athletics.
How will the universities cover the additional costs of the added student athletes?
I think that's the hard question. It'd certainly be expensive, and there certainly are some financial challenges as we work through kind of the impacts of COVID-19. But each institution will do it a little differently. I mean, I think some are kind of adding money to the scholarship budgets. I think some are trying to do it within the budgets they've already set. I think some are using some of the special assistance money for student athletes. So I think there's a myriad of ways, and people are being very creative because they want to find an opportunity to really honor those seniors and give them a chance to kind of go out the way that I'm sure they all hoped.
Under your guidance as athletic director at American University, more than 250 student athletes and 16 teams earned a combined GPA of over 3.0 for 23 consecutive semesters. Additionally, in 2011 through 2012, student athletes were named to the dean's lists as the department posed a combined 3.36 GPA. What was your plan to accomplish such impressive scholastic results?
The great thing about American is, academics was at the forefront. So any student athlete that went to American knew they were going to get a great education, knew they were going to have to apply themselves, and knew they were going to have to take their studies seriously. So, our plan was really to recruit great students, for our that fit our kind of institution, and I think it really worked. Our coaches at American were really committed to the kind of academic enterprise and making sure that student athletes were doing the things that they needed to do in the classroom. And so I think it was a great mix of, we had great students, we had great coaches, and they were all surrounded by a great university that allowed them to flourish in the classroom.
What are your expectations for the 2020-2021 football season with the COVID-19 virus issues facing the nation and the world?
Yeah, I wish I could give you a real definitive answer. It'll be almost like breaking news. But the reality is we don't know. We're planning for a season that will start on time and a season that will, be a full season. That's really what we're planning on. But the reality is, the virus will kind of dictate that. And we certainly are trying to change our behaviors and build contingency plans so that we can mitigate the impacts of the virus. I'm sure there are going to be some impacts, all across the country, including in the Sun Belt, and we'll just have to deal with them when they happen. I certainly think we'll have to be creative, but I'm really optimistic. And the great thing about kind of this kind of process is we know a lot more now than we knew on March 11th when, kind of our world changed. And I think in another 30 days, another 60 days, another 90 days, there'll be that kind of, better understanding of the virus, and there may be some opportunities for mitigation that we're not even aware of today. So I'm optimistic, and we're planning for a season that starts on time and that's full and complete.
The NCAA announced that its Board of Governors supports a plan that gives athletes the ability to cash in on their names, images, and likeliness as never before, and without involvement from the association, schools, or conferences. How do you think this will impact college sports as a whole?
I think it'll have a pretty significant impact. In some ways you're changing the model a little bit. And right now, all those benefits are really kind of, they all have an education nexus to them. And so this would change that. These would be benefits that aren't necessarily incidental participation or education. And so that's a huge change for the association. I'm looking forward to kind of diving into, the information a little more to get a better understanding of it. Just because, I certainly understand the external pressures that are certainly talking about these things and really asking for them. But also, it is important that we stick to our values, and this is really a part of higher education. So I certainly hope that the proposals, as we dive into them, are supportive of our values and don't necessarily contradict them.
How do you think a university could justify having football games without having on-campus classes?
Yeah, I just think that it's almost apples and oranges in the sense of, if you, well, take the University of Arizona, I don't know, but 40, 50,000 students go there. That's a whole different deal than trying to manage 100 players, and really your travel roster is like 60 or 70, and so you're talking about managing 100 people and trying to keep them safe versus 50,000 people. So I certainly hear those comparisons a lot kind of in the media. I don't know that it's really apples to oranges in terms of your ability to test, your ability to, do all the questionnaires and the temperature checks and the COVID-19 tests that you can do on 100 people versus having, 40,000 people there. So I think you can do one without the other, and still keep your student athletes safe.
What were the contributing factors that led you to the decision to play football for Duke University?
I wanted to go to the best academic school I could go to and play the highest level of football. And so that was an opportunity to go to Duke. Great school academically, and then I got to play football at the FBS level in the ACC. So I'm really proud of that. Words can't express how much it really impacted my life. That's one of the best decisions I've ever made, was to go to Duke University. I feel so lucky and honored and blessed that I had that opportunity. And I certainly know that I wouldn't be the person that I am today, or certainly have these opportunities that I've been fortunate enough to have without Duke and the support it has provided me and continues to.
While running the ball for the Blue Devils, what were your career aspirations?
Probably like every FBS student athlete, I thought I was going to be a pro football player, and so now I knew that after my sophomore year that I wasn't going to be. I started talking to my academic advisor, kind of like, hey, what am I going to do when I graduate? He asked me a series of questions, and he was kind of like, well, why don't you do what I do? And I was like, well, what do you do? And he kind of explained. That was the first time that kind of conversation with him, I got this understanding that there's all this infrastructure around sports, around our football team, that allowed people to make a living and also give back to student athletes. And so he gave me an internship application to the NCAA, and that's when I got started at the NCAA. And then I thought I wanted to be an AD, and so I became an AD, and then I thought I wanted to be a commissioner, and then went to conference office, and then now I'm a commissioner. So it's kind of changed a little bit, but I've always wanted to be in college athletics once I kind of understood it in my senior year based on that conversation with my academic advisor.
You earned your bachelor's degree from Duke in history and psychology and a master's degree from Oklahoma. Which of these degrees do you think have helped you most in your athletic leadership roles?
I'm going to say Duke, and that's not to slight Oklahoma. I think the things that I learned there are tremendous. But Duke was really transformational for me. At a time in my life, I was obviously young, coming out of high school. They taught me how to think. They taught me how to write. I grew up pretty modest, super modest upbringing. And Duke was the first place where I was surrounded by all these people who thought they could change the world and do whatever they wanted to do. I mean, I never thought that, that's not what I'd seen, and so Duke was transformational in so many ways for me that, it's not really even close in terms of the impact. I mean, I think every day, my Duke education is kind of helping me, figure things out and move things forward. And I think Duke is really the place that opened my eyes to say, hey, you can really be anything you want to be, just dream big, work hard, learn every day, and be, ambitious and be curious, and good opportunities can come to you. And I learned that at Duke. And so I've got to give Duke University the edge in terms of impact.
And then if you could pick one word to describe your career, what would it be?
I would just say blessed. I've just been really lucky. As an intern, I've got really good mentors, and those are folks that kind of have stuck with me and been willing to give me advice. I've had some, unbelievable opportunities. I got to work for Joe C. I got to work for Todd Turner. I got to work at the NCAA. So I feel like, and certainly I've tried to work hard and try to, make my own luck and all that good stuff. but I've also just been lucky. Some of this stuff is right place at the right time, and meeting someone. I did a visit at the NCAA at Stanford where Todd Turner was there. I met him. He hired me. And then when Joe C was looking for someone, Todd recommended me, and so, 7 things had to happen for all of that to occur, none of which I controlled, and so some of this is luck. And I certainly understand the shoulders that, I'm standing on, and the people that I'm leaning on to get here. And so I would use the word blessed. I feel very fortunate and very lucky to have the career that I have.
Well, those are all the questions that I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time and for your insight, Commissioner. And thanks to all of you who joined us today on ASEC Conversations. We'll see you next time.